friends, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a bit exciting, I hope, since rather than a build video, I am going to teach you how to make your very own Touch of Magic steam train in Disney Dreamlight Valley. And I mean, just look at it behind me. It is probably one of my most unique things I have made thus far, and it just brings the perfect holiday cheer as we blaze through November into December, which don't hate, I know November only just started, but I am going full steam ahead towards Christmas. No pun intended. Anyhow, feel free to sit back and relax, and let me show you how to make the train. So here is what you are going to need. You can craft all of these using your crafting station, so no boutique coins needed. To make all of the necessary pieces, you will need one basic dresser, which is the front of the train, two basic fridges, which will make both parts that are also in front of the train, and you will also need two different basic wardrobes to make the two unique train compartments. We are going to start with probably the most difficult parts, as you may as well just get it over with. This is one of the two basic fridges that we are using. You are going to make this fridge black with this metal texture that you can find under the texture selection. And make sure that your glossiness is mostly in the middle, and also make sure the metal selection is off. To start the headlights, what I recommend in order to match this fridge with the other one that we will make is to face the fridge from the front and then get a circle motif. You are going to enlarge this motif, and facing the fridge head on, you will drag it as far as it can go until you see this red arrow. I make this one yellow, and then I repeat the process with a black circle, and once that is aligned, you will slightly downsize it in order to create this yellow ring. Now I repeat this step again, and this time I use a red circle and make it significantly smaller. This is also when I started to add my gradient motifs in order to create more depth, because the color motifs look a little bit flat to me. You are going to need this trident motif, which is unlocked by getting Ursula to level 6. And what I do is I enlarge it in order to use it as a border for the edges. For this piece, only the front and left side are going to be visible, so I only do it for those sides. You do not have to waste your time to do all of the sides of the refrigerator. I basically framed the front with these tridents, and for the left side and the top of the fridge that will show, I used the black square motifs to cut out the trident that spilled over. Once you have that covered, I just take more tridents and I finish framing the sides. Going back to the circles, I actually add a final yellow light, which is the lighter color as the train light. Don't worry about the right side, that will be covered up by the next piece that we do. With that same piece though, you can leave it like this and be done with it, or if you want to add more depth like I did, I will add some gradients. We will do a dark gray gradient in the bottom and then have it go underneath all of the circles by dragging it down. So I will use the same colored gradient to add shading to the black circle. It is important that you move this gradient down so that it is over the black circle but underneath the red and yellow circle. I also then just add one tiny dark orange gradient into the small yellow circle. Just make sure that the red gradient is over the red circle and under the yellow circle. And that is the first piece. For the second piece, you are going to need to line this up with the first refrigerator, and this is probably the hardest thing I had to do. This will take some experimentation, but just remember, as I said in my rug tutorials, wherever you stand is where the furniture will fall. So I am next to the first fridge that we made, and I am trying to get the second fridge to fall exactly in line next to it. Once you get it aligned, you are completing the circle now. So make it the same color and texture, and once again, face the fridge head on and drag it to the edge until you see the error sign. This will be easier now since you can actually see the other piece in order to make it aligned. And as a matter of fact, it is actually easier to add the circles and the gradients together rather than what I did last time with adding the gradients afterwards and dragging it down. So watch carefully as I place each circle and follow with a gradient. Now I speed this part up because it is a repeat from what I did last time. Do the same thing and use the tridents to frame the front, and this time you will also frame the right side using more black motifs to cut out those pesky trident pieces that stick out. I also do add this motif to the sides that show on each piece, and I believe that this was from the Oasis Retreat Star Path, so if you do not have this motif, you can use whatever else you want. I just color these yellow and I put them on either side. You will now have two fridge pieces that can connect into one piece. Now we are going to start the main wardrobe body of the train, aka where all of the windows and wheels are. This is the piece that you would need to craft multiple wardrobes of in order to make your train shorter or longer. It is also black and using that same metal texture, but remember the metal selection should be off. I am starting with the trident pieces and framing the square part of the wardrobe because this is where I am putting my windows. Now once I've made a square, I'm going to just add a red square and then drag it to the bottom so that it is underneath all of those tridents. I am leaving a sizable gap down below for the wheels. I do take a black rectangle above just so that it isn't too tall, and I make the red part a little more of a rectangle than a square. So in order to create the windows, you are going to start by getting a small yellow square and turn the global setting off. See that globe? Make sure it is deselected and you can get it pretty small. I am going to line the squares 3 in a row, minding the space in between so that it is equal. Next, you take the same colored circles, also toggling the global tool off, and make it about the same size as the squares and placing those on top. They should almost look like those anonymous profile pictures where it's like the human head and the shoulders. To create the arched window look, I take a very small rectangular motif, also with the global selection off, and I just sort of connect the square to the circle. Here I did have to adjust the size of the circle, making it a tiny bit larger so that it can connect nicely. You will see small gaps in between as you put 2 little lines per window, so once you add the lines, I just put a square in the middle in order to get rid of those gaps. I am going to add some further depth to the windows, so find your smaller gradient motifs. I repeat, the smaller one, not the square gradient, and this will be a darker orange color. I get it to the same size as the base of the window, and I let the gradient shade the yellow parts. After that, I am going to use the square gradient motif this time, and I put them on top of the arches. Now you'll notice that obviously this is showing over the red motif that we have, so what you do is I just put some red motifs to cut out those excess gradients. I found that the best motifs to use are the triangles and the curved lines, and there is no correct process of doing this. The goal is just to get those gradients that are out of line out of there. As you can see, I even go outside of the lines because eventually I am going to move all of the trident pieces to the top, which will make everything go underneath it. Now for the wheels, I really had to get creative with this one, but I add a big wheel and a small wheel next to it. The best way that I could describe it is that the big wheel is nearly the width of 2 of the windows, and the small wheel is equivalent to the width of 1 window. I make these white at first, and using the same process as before, I am adding a black circle, lining it up, and then minimizing it to create a thin white outline. I add a smaller red circle in the center, and then I actually use the bordered circle motif in yellow to just outline the red circle we put down. This part is where I really had to get creative, but in order to connect the wheels together, I used 2 trident motifs, and then in the very center I put down some 4-point stars. I thought that the trident motifs didn't stand out, so I also add a small white rectangle under it. For this part, watch closely. I actually take the global tool off of it to get it as small as I can, and when the global tool is off, you can actually pan your camera while it is floating, and it will cause the white motif line to stretch. Once you place it down, it should look skinny and long, and since we are only seeing the front, that is all you have to do for this wardrobe. Now, I somehow didn't get footage of me making this one, so let me try to explain it the best I can. Using the same texture base, I actually make this one a red color. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I do place some dark red gradients in order to make it less flat. This of course is not necessary. However, what is necessary is this black gradient that goes at the very bottom because I use it to create separation for the wheels later on. Now these motifs right here are from Aladdin's level 9 reward, and I am just using them to frame the space that we have here. As we did before, I used more trident motifs for that bordered edge. The wheels are also just as I did before, with some slight color changes, having the same white border and black wheel, but this time it has an inner dark red circle with 2 border outline circles in red and yellow. And here I am showing you again the process of stretching the white line before adding the trident and 4-point stars to complete the wheel. Now whatever is left of the tridents, of course I'm just gonna cut it out with some squares, and I know that the sides don't really show, but the corners still kind of do, so I repeat the same gradients and edge pieces on both sides. The final touch is using a singular trident piece down the middle of both sides, which again might not be noticeable, but in the final assembly it doesn't hurt to add them. The final part, which is actually ironically the first piece, is the dresser, which is in front of the train. Now you are going to see a wheel on the side and some motifs already placed, and I'm going to need you to just ignore that. So actually the very beginning of the design starts with this red square. I make it pretty big, but I don't cover the entire top. For the front, I angle both of the squares and I sort of make the top fan out into this trapezoid shape. And to give it depth, of course, we will add some more dark red gradients. For the texture, you will need to add some dark red lines and angle the outer ones to be parallel to the squares that we just put down. The next 2 lines towards the center, I tilt them a little bit more upright, but it still isn't straight. Essentially, you were kind of wanting all 4 lines to be headed towards a singular point at the top. We want these lines to start thick at the bottom, but they get narrower as we go up. So I add light red lines that match the red base in the bottom, and I angle it just so that it gets narrow as we go up. Also, do not worry about the gradient at this point, we will put that at the very top in the end. It's almost like you're making a very long and skinny triangle. We repeat this step on the top, connecting what we already have in the bottom and making it more narrow as we reach the top. And I mean, it should really be like pencil thin by the end of it. Once you are done with that, I move the gradients to the top and it should look like this. And actually, I do change all of the red pieces to become a shade lighter so that it stands out, but once you do that, you can now assemble your train. And that is the final look. As you can see, I made a train station, which will be in a future video as I decorate my frosted floating island. I hope you all enjoyed the process. I tried to make this as easy to understand as possible, but I promise it's worth the effort. I do realize that we may or may not get a train like this when Wish Blossom Ranch comes out, but this may still be useful in case you don't buy the DLC. It's amazing how you can take a couple wardrobes, refrigerators, and a dresser and turn it into a full-size steam train. I want to inspire you all to just think outside of the box and to tune into your inner creativity, and most importantly, never believe anything is impossible until you try it. If you guys liked the video, be sure to like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye!